It's December 1991. The unthinkable happens. One of the world's greatest superpowers, the Soviet Union, collapses into a pile of rubble. The global order is forever changed in a matter of days. What triggered this shocking downfall? This is the story of how the Soviet Union imploded in a series of explosive events, breaking the world apart in a way that no one saw coming. The Soviet Union wasn't always on the brink. For decades, it was a superpower, rivaling the United States. But the 1980s brought economic collapse, corruption, and a leadership crisis that rattled the foundations of the empire. The Communist Party, once invincible, was beginning to show cracks. And at the heart of it all was one man who would be at the center of this explosive story, Mikhail Gorbachev. Gorbachev, the youngest and most reform-oriented leader in Soviet history, pushed policies like perestroika and glasnost. These reforms, meant to revive the system, ended up lighting a fuse that would ignite the entire empire. The first cracks appeared in the Soviet bloc. Eastern European nations, which had been under Soviet control for decades, began to demand change. Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, they wanted out. But the explosive movement came from the Baltics. Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia pushed for independence, sending shockwaves across the Soviet Union. The world watched in disbelief as Soviet tanks were deployed to suppress uprisings. But instead of quelling the fire, they fanned it, escalating tensions and sparking protests that spread like wildfire. August 1991, the fuse was burning closer to the explosive core. Hardliners within the Communist Party staged a coup against Gorbachev, hoping to restore the Soviet system. They seized power, cutting communications and sending the country into chaos. The coup was supposed to be quick, decisive, but it backfired. The people of Moscow, emboldened by years of frustration, didn't back down. They stood tall, defying the military, and within days the coup collapsed. With the August Coup failing, the Soviet Union was crumbling at an unimaginable pace. Gorbachev, once the hero of reform, was now powerless. On December 8, 1991, three republics, Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, signed an agreement to dissolve the Soviet Union. It was a death sentence for the empire, the final blow. On December 25, 1991, Gorbachev resigned as president, and the Soviet Union officially ceased to exist. The collapse was as sudden as it was dramatic. In just 1 year, an empire that spanned continents had vanished from the map. The world was left reeling. The global power balance shifted overnight. Former Soviet republics scrambled for power, and the people, many of them unaware of what was coming, watched as their lives changed forever. New nations were born out of the ashes of the Soviet Union, and the geopolitical landscape shifted. The West celebrated its victory in the Cold War, but the collapse left deep scars: economic instability, rising nationalism, and an uncertain future. The fall of the Soviet Union wasn't just the collapse of an empire.